my pillow, Mike Lindell.
Thank you, everybody. When I wrote the book that you all received, What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO, I used mathematical odds to prove that God exists. We all have things that happen to us all the time that we say, wow, that's a 1 in a million, or maybe that's a 1 in a billion, or things that we say, that's impossible. Well, when do we put them all together and say it has to be a miracle? Okay, well, I remember getting invited to the White House for the first time and sitting next to our great president, and the cameras went live to the nation, and all my friends at home, and some of them were still on crack, looked up and said, what is this crack addict doing with the president? Jesus is real. Could this would be impossible without God? And in the spring of 2020, in another divine appointment, I spoke at the Rose Garden, and I said, God has given us grace for such a time as this. Well, then we were hit with the China virus and a stolen election, and over the next 4 years, people would come up to me all the time and say, Mike, this doesn't feel like grace. And I would say, oh, but it is. God uses all things for good for those who believe. And the president and I were talking one day, and I was saying that, we were talking about how our country was getting completely destroyed everywhere. And I told him, I said, Mr. President, these bad things are actually helping. They're opening people's eyes, and it'll end up being a good thing. And he said, well, Mike, they're destroying our beautiful country, and it's going to take so much to fix it all. And I said, sir, with God, all things are possible, and God working through you, you'll get it fixed faster and better than ever. Well, hasn't this first month been a miracle, huh? Thank you, Mr. President, for getting so much done in such a short period of time. It actually is a miracle. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Everybody loves our president. Some just don't know it yet. True. This has all been on God's timing, and I believe our great president, if he was put in right after the stolen election, we would have lost our country forever. It would have been too soon. There were so many things that we had to find out over the last 4 years, and there was one thing that was important. We had to get our voice back. On January 7th and 8th of 2021, those 2 days are historically important. 1.2 million people were deplatformed and canceled on Vimeo, YouTube, Suckabuck's Facebook, Jack Dorsey's Twitter. If you spoke out about the stolen election, you were deplatformed. The rest of the country was too afraid to say anything because of January 6th. They went completely silent in fear. And it reminds me, like when I was a kid, we had black and white TVs, and we would turn them off as kids, and they would go down to a little tiny dot. And we would go and we'd turn it on right before that dot went out. It would all come back to life. Well, that little dot was our voice. And if our voice would have went out, it would have been just like Ronald Reagan said, we're like a beacon of light on a hill. If the lights go out here, they go out everywhere. It would have been over. But our voice did not go out. We turned that back on, and our voice has gotten bigger and brighter than ever before. And this is, we never gave up. People started forming their own platforms, and this is where CPAC came in. How important is CPAC that gave us a platform? I couldn't speak anywhere back then except for CPAC. So important is CPAC. I and many of you were giving a world stage for our voice when almost every other platform had either blocked us or given up. We never stopped speaking out, and our voice has grown to the biggest it's ever been. We have beaten We have beaten, there's two parts to this. We've beaten the biggest cover-up of the biggest crime in history. The uniparty, the deep state globalists, and the media tried to completely bury the truth about the 2020 election. 4 years later, evil has failed. Everybody knows the truth. I told people before the 2024 election, if they tried to steal it again, just like if they'd have tried to give us China virus 2.0, we would not have stood for it. We would have said, open up those machines. And we would have said, no, we're not going to sit out in snowbanks wearing masks and be banned from our own houses. We would not have tolerated another stolen election. And evil knew this, and they also knew that it was too big to rig, as the president likes to say. If they would have done it, it would have been one of the biggest deviations in history, and we would have said, we're on to you now. Well, that's their tool to steal elections. By the way, and the media will like this, the fake news, they did steal 4 senators and 9 congressmen that my teams know of in this last election, just so you all know that, okay? 132 countries have banned electronic voting machines, and they've done it for a reason. More than 100 countries have banned early voting and mail-in voting. The United States of America has the worst election platforms in the world. We now have to make elections great again. We need to go to paper ballots, hand-counted, same-day voting, precinct level, and voter ID just the way our great president wants us. We have to lead the world in secure elections. We cannot let this time with the greatest president in history be in vain. This must be the time that God triumphs over evil. We have to have our voices stronger than ever, and we will never, ever stop until, with this critical timing, we have to get to paper ballots. We will never stop. We have to get there now. I encourage all of you to go to LindellTV.com. This is my voice. We have the greatest mayor ever, Mayor Rudy Giuliani over there. We have Emerald Robinson and many other hosts in our 24/7 TV lineup. We were granted, what a blessing, we have White House reporters right at the White House right now with Lindell TV. You have live reporting every single day. And I'd like to thank, I needed help, and I'd like to thank our great new sponsors like Fisher Liberty Gold and Airwater Healing. They're going to be there at the booth. But during these times when I was canceled, they're trying to cancel everything I stand for to get rid of these machines and go to paper ballots. They stood up and said, hey, we're going to help. We're going to sponsor Lindell TV. So thank you. I'd like you all to visit our booth at Lindell TV, the booth that we have here, visit, and I need every one of you to get involved now. We are at a critical time in history. The stuff we put out, we have all the pieces to do this. We just need your votes to magnify the truth to the world as we get into this over the next months here and start putting all this information out and what we're doing from the ground up. And from our great president down, we're doing everything humanly possible to get to this great place with our election platforms. God gave us grace for such a time as this, and we are in the best times to be alive in history and the greatest revival for Jesus Christ ever. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you all.